First of all, pleasure to be here. Very, very privileged, very, very honored to be here, sharing all this information with you guys. The very, very first thing I go for is if the person has the right attitude. What do I mean by right attitude? Is someone who is full of hunger and desire to do well. They want to go get it attitude. They want to succeed. They want to deliver. They want to do things that we want them to do. So that's the very, very first thing I go for, is the right attitude. The next thing I look for is for for an individual to have the ability to learn from their mistakes. So yes, it's very good to have the right attitude, to go and get the attitude, but not every time you're going to be successful in doing what you're doing. You have to know immediately. You have to reassess. Why did you not succeed this time? How can you make things better next time? What things you need to change? What kind of analytical mind you have? How do you come to conclusion that, all right, this is where you did wrong, and if we have to do it better next time, what do you need to do? So the ability to learn from their mistakes is the vital thing. Because otherwise, it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't push a wall. You have to understand where did something went wrong, and you have to find a different way of doing things. Some things just don't happen. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat. So ability to know your mistakes, find your mistakes, and learn from your mistakes. That's something which is very, very important. And finally, with the best of attitude, with the best of with ability to learn, you need to be there for the right reasons. So why do you want to be there? That's where all the skills and jobs and everything comes into play. That gives the right context. You could be may have the best attitude and the ability to learn, but you may still not be there for the right reason. You may be there for, I have nothing else to do, nothing better to do. So why are you here? Why are you after this job? Maybe you're too overqualified. Maybe you are underqualified. But you may have the attitude, but you really need to have the right reasons for this job. Why are you hiring? Or why are you looking to get this job? So these are the three things that I find very, very important before I hire anyone or before I recruit anyone. Skill sets, sometimes it depends. If there is a specialist role that requires some very specific skills, then probably it will make some sense. But if this, for example, let's look at an example. If we are hiring someone to come and lead a solution design, right? So we expect that person to understand and know about everything. It depends on the seniority of the role, right? So he has to take the ownership and responsibility of this. We just can't gamble on everything. But if we're looking for someone to start at a junior level, to start assisting and start developing into the senior position, eventually with time, this is where we tend to, Deutsche Bank or any other company would like to invest in grads, so they can eventually learn from their predecessors, from their bosses, and sooner or later they will move into senior positions by learning and by working on the job. So sometimes skills are important. Sometimes it just boils down to, well, do you have the right attitude? If you have the right attitude, like I said, you have the ability to learn, you have the drive, hunger to learn, you can learn. It depends on where you want to be going forward. Why do you want to be in that role? And sometimes the background. Well, when you said background, first of all, I thought you were talking about the background in terms of ethnicities or different cultures, but then you refined your question to more skill sets. So that's why I answered it this way. It's not something that you should fake or you should try to come across artificially, right? If you do not have the right attitude, then you need to work on it. Now, I will come to the question how you can show the right attitude, but before I do that, there is a context I need to build. So artificially there, even if you make it through the interview by faking it, the word is faking it, you sooner or later you will run into trouble. It's not like this that once you're hired, you can never be fired. So yes, there are annual reviews and there is a probationary period as well. Sooner or later, you will get into trouble if you are lying or if you are being something that you are not. So if you are authentic, having this right attitude should not be different. What do we mean by having, or how you can demonstrate the right attitude? Well, first of all, you have to look at yourself. Why do you think you should be the best? You are the best person for this job. Do you really believe you are the best person for this job, right? If you have the reasons, then show it. Why can't you not show it? How you can show it? It's the way you talk, you come across, you convince. This is where your communication skills and your confidence needs to come into play. This is something that, again, you can start building. You don't have to wait. You need to practice. You talk to people, you show your confidence, you show your commitment. If you are trying to be someone else and actually you're not, your body will tell you. And a good person who can understand, who can read into the people, he will notice these things. If I am interviewing someone who is pretending to be smarter than he is, I will find out. I may not embarrass him in front of the person, but I will know, and I will not shortlist them. I will ask the question that you sooner or later, eventually, you are likely to expose yourself. So being honest is very good. Yes, everyone has weaknesses. The worst thing towards becoming a better person and having the right authentic attitude is know your weaknesses. If you know your weaknesses, then you can start working on it. Now, how can you, first step is know your weakness, then start working on it, how you can fix your weaknesses. You can't hide your weaknesses. You can only hide your weaknesses for as long. Sooner or later, that weakness is going to hold you back. I don't know of any weakness that cannot be overcome. Again, this is where the attitude comes in, right? Do you have the right attitude to say, right, I have a weakness, I'm going to go and get it. I'm going to overcome it, and I'm going to become the best version of me I can be, right? For example, I'm 5'9", 5'9". I can't be 6 foot tall, right? That's the reality of things. But I will be the best 5'9" version of me there is going to be. If I know something is not working for me, if I know something is not right about me, and it's actually against my values, I wouldn't do it. If something I need to do, I just have some fears develop in my head, I will try to overcome those fears. So this is how you develop the right attitude. Be yourself, but make sure what yourself is worth showing. Being honest, work on your weaknesses, and make it happen. Do it for the right reasons. Remember, do it for the right reasons, always. So as you mentioned, I'm not a native English speaker either, right? And what you're hearing right now, it's not something that was my natural accent when I came here. So these things evolve, and we should evolve. We have the ability to learn, and we should learn. And again, this is where I keep coming back to. If you know there's a weakness, you need to work on it. And I know I'm unlikely to have a British accent. I don't even try to have a very British accent. All I can do is speak in a way that everyone is able to understand clearly. Come across authentic, speak slowly, speak with confidence, and there's a lot of useful material out there on YouTube, which we can share with the colleagues. You can learn a lot. There are a lot of things you can do to start working on it straight away. So the issues people really feel when they come across first here in UK, most of the issues are actually inside people's head. They are not really outside. But yes, there are a few issues outside as well. For example, now I'm sure most of you, some of you at least, will be feeling the same way, which I'm about to tell you. And let me know if this sounds like I'm talking specifically about you. All right, so some of you may be feeling that, hey, we are Chinese and English, they think themselves are very superior people, and they will ridicule us, they will make fun of us. Am I right? That's one of the things that people feel. Second thing people will feel is, you know what? We have to stick with ourselves. People, we don't want to make fool of ourselves. We don't know if there are cultural sensitivities. Should we say this? Should we not say this? And so should we be quiet? Should we interact? How do we interact? That's the second thing. And the third thing is, people will say, you know what? I do not know how to interact. We don't have anything in common. How do I engage or start a conversation? I'm afraid to make a fool of myself. Am I right? Is that most of it? Some of you feel that you are going to face these problems. Well, let me tell you a few of these things. First thing, again, it's in your head. I had the same ideas about English people. I'm not saying everyone is a saint out here, but a lot of people, especially in London area, in cosmopolitan cities, they deal with foreigners all the time, and they show a lot of respect to everyone. Me speaking, I haven't had any bad experiences ever, and I'm not afraid to interact. I encourage everyone to interact. I start a conversation wherever I can. And these things, again, you will feel when you start working, when you come here, when you start interacting with people. You need to let those fears go. That, you know what, they are going to be racist towards you, or they are going to make fun of you. It's not like this. Making fun of someone in a friendly way is different, and I think we should all do that. But making fun of someone in a disrespectful way, that is not something you will find here. At least I haven't come across here. So the other thing is, what can we do in order to address some of the situations that we have? So let's, first of example, first thing is, do not build any fears in your head. Let those fears go. And if you need to work on the fears, we can help with that. What you can do meanwhile. So it does help if you are able to understand the way people speak. There is no one accent in English in England that people speak. Even in London, there are dozens of different accents. If you speak to someone very local, Cockney accent, it's something I struggle with. People from Northern England, it's very hard to understand what they're talking about. People from Scotland, they have a completely different accent. Welsh people have different accent. People in London, it's very, you'll find something which is, some accents which are very posh, proper English style, like you hear in Queen's speech. Others will be very smooth, you will easily understand. Some will be very, very slang and very, very from rough areas, which you will again struggle to understand. It's not only you, it's with everyone. If you come across that situation, all you can do is ask politely, pardon me, I did not understand, can you please repeat it? Just be honest, don't try to pretend that you understood when you didn't understand. If you pretend to understand something that you didn't, it's more likely to make you are likely to make a fool of yourself rather than them making a fool of you. So just be honest, authentic, and speak in a respectful way. If you don't understand, ask them to repeat. And say, if you still don't understand, say, apologize. Say, sorry, I'm struggling to understand. Can you please repeat it slowly so I can understand? So these are the ways you can handle. Meanwhile, it also helps if your ears are tuned to listening to different people. If they are fine-tuned to listening to different accents from London. And how can you do that? So there are some very good English programs you can watch. Some local TV programs. I don't know whether you like comedy, whether you like serious programs, but if you watch English programs, some soap operas, not just the Queen's language, the way Queen speaks, but some local languages, local accents as well. For example, if you listen to some British soaps like Coronation Street or I don't know, I don't personally watch it, but I know there are a few soaps that you can watch. EastEnders, I've heard, you can start listening to it, not from an entertainment perspective, but from a point of trying to understand and getting used to what they are saying. And one of the things I notice with people is they try to speak too fast when they come here. They try to speak English very fast. Probably they assume that by speaking fast, they give the impression that they are more fluent. They understand English very well. It actually works the other way. The faster you try to speak, your accent becomes more and more strong. It gets stronger, and it becomes more difficult for the person to understand if you're not native. So there are, again, some communication skills, some courses, some material that you can start working on how to speak properly, how to speak in a way that other people understand and want to listen. And if, again, this is where attitude and willingness to learn come. There is no reason why you can't learn to speak like people, average person in London. I'm not saying you will become a proper English, you will have an English accent, but certainly you can speak and interact with people in a way that you can easily communicate with each other. No one needs to be perfect in English. In fact, the English people themselves are very bad at speaking with grammar and some of the English sentences that they speak. Okay, so again, this is something which comes down to being a little bit being authentic and a little bit being open, right? So you are there for a reason. You're there to do a job. You got hired. You are there for the interview. You have gone through the shortlist of CVs. So what we expect already is that you are able to speak and communicate in English in a way that we will be able to understand. And secondly, you have some skill sets that we think can be useful, or at least you have the potential and your personality or your CV looks good and we have hired you in the first place. Now, the question is, how do you behave in an interview? That you need to be original, or do you need to try to mix in? So again, this is what I'll go back to saying, you don't want to be seen as someone who is fully rigid in his own native ways, that he can't move out of his or her comfort zone. And we don't also not like to see someone who's completely gone off the track and try to do something or try to mimic something and do whatever anyone else tells them to do. So you have to reevaluate yourself all the time. Which values you need to let go and which values you need to adopt, right? So something like Here, everyone, you can't discriminate people. Here, by law, you are not allowed to discriminate. When I came here, I heard a lot of stories. Again, these were all things we are told from our parents, from our schools, from our cultures. But when you come here, you see a lot of this is actually not true. And this is where you have to have an open mind. Not everything you are told through your generations of culture is actually true. May not be true. I'm not saying definitely is false, but it may or may not be true. And this open mind, you need to show that, you know what, even though for thousands of years we've been believing this, but maybe it's not true, and maybe we need to improve ourselves. While some of the things that you have been carrying on through cultures actually is something that you can use as a strength. And this is where you have to be authentic. You have to go back to your values and beliefs. You want to work there, you want to provide them with a service that you think in a best possible way, which means you treat all the people from all ethnic backgrounds, Black, Asians, local English, your fellow Chinese, Taiwanese, or Tibetans, or Vietnamese, Japanese, no matter from where, you treat them with respect. You treat them as you would do anyone else. And then again, we may have been taught about, our culture is frowned upon homophobia. We can't discriminate people here. Again, this is the same thing. We may have different beliefs, and we have to again be show open. Whether we agree with this or not, we have to show openness. You know what? They are here to do a job. Doesn't matter what their sexual orientation is. We don't care. We are here to interact as colleagues, and we should not discriminate or persecute others. This kind of openness and adjustment to your beliefs, and just it doesn't mean you have to become homosexual, but at least stop. We need to stop looking down on them. We have to stop treating them as less than us, less than humans. It's just have everyone on their own. So you don't want to carry all the fixed mentality with you, and you do not want to let go of everything. Reevaluate, rethink. This is what I use in my coaching, right? So you reflect on your skills, you reflect on your past, you realign yourself, and you relive yourself, right? So yes, we are brought up by our parents and our cultures and our societies. Have they experienced all the same things you are experiencing? Have they been exposed to the education you have been exposed to? Are their experiences and going to be enough for you to live your life? Or do you have to evaluate yourself? And this readiness of learning, constantly self-evolving, self-learning, and self-correcting, self-aligning, this is all what it's about. Improving oneself with every single experience. Okay.
We can do it quickly.
So it does help to have some sort of good degree background, but it's not mandatory, right? The reason I say that is I did personally speaking, my first degree was in electrical engineering, and I wanted to go into computing. So it wasn't a natural transfer. So I did my master's in software engineering management. That gives me a master's degree as well as a computer degree, excuse me. This helped me find a job in IT department. So if you're doing a conversion degree, it certainly will help. If you're just doing a degree for the sake of degree, then again, I will question why you are doing it, right? Because if you go out, they want to see your skill sets. If you are going as a programmer, you don't even need a degree, to be honest. All you need to do is just be very good at coding, demonstrate your work, and blow everyone's mind off by creating some wizardry with your code. That's what we will be looking for. But if you have a degree, it's a general requirement degree, it's usually sufficient. Maybe you can do a master's degree in research or something. It's not as necessary as some people actually back home in Pakistan, in China. We have a habit of collecting degrees which we never end up using. So it may not be as necessary as we may think it is. I'm assuming you might mention it's how to get an interview opportunity in general in any organization. To be honest, it's not easy, because even for the locals, there are a lot of restrictions. There are a lot less jobs and then the grads available. And this is where, again, we need to find the people with the right attitude. But before you show the right attitude in an interview, how do you get shortlisted for the interview? So one way is to have the skills that are very rare, that there's a big shortage of skills. That's something that will definitely help you. For example, skills in mathematics and physics and advanced sciences, they are very rare here, and people tend to struggle to recruit those people with these skills, mathematics, sciences. And then advanced IT techniques, right? So if you're working in advanced IT, like if you're specializing in data sciences or something like this, or artificial intelligence, where there is a big drive towards I think you, relatively speaking, again, there is no guarantee, no guarantees. Relatively speaking, you will find it easier than other places to get the job. But this is again where I will take you back to the first question: do it for the right reasons. If you just feel very depressed sitting in front of a computer and just working, do you really want to do a computing job 24/7? This is something, again, you have to realize that, you know what, you can only be very good at something that you're passionate about. If you're just doing something for the sake of money, the best you will be is mediocre at best. Even if you're good, that's probably as good as you're going to go. You're not going to become somewhere of a millionaire or a Steve Jobs or anyone like these. These guys believed in what they were doing. Believe it's like, yes, they had a passion for technology. They wanted to change people's lives, and they felt happy about it. That's why they made it happen. It's not about, all right, people are doing this, I'm making money in this, I'm also going to do this, and I'm also going to make money. It doesn't work like that. You have to think, live, and breathe what you believe. Then some of you will be very successful. And again, there is no guarantee. You still need dedication, commitment for over a long period of time. So as we touched upon few topics like what do people really fear when they come here, and confidence is the key to everything. If you are confident, it comes across. You don't have to pretend to be confident, and this is not something that happens overnight. You have to practice, and to reach to that stage, you need some mentoring, you need some help, and this is where I can offering people a chance to take my help and become confident in what they're doing. When I will recruit someone, is you have to convince me why you should get the opportunity to be coached. What difference will it make? How will you do this? Why should I help you? Why should you be helped? What exactly are you trying to achieve? So this is something I need some, again, authenticity and originality. And I want to see some desire to succeed. I have very limited time to give, and I want to make sure the person I'm giving the time to is really going to benefit, and he really needs it.